Alright, hey guys, what's up? In today's video, I'm going to be going over Bichers. Now, I'm not going to talk about any of the water parameters or stuff like that, just because I'm going to be referencing all Bichers today, not just certain ones, because, I might say needs such and such parameters, but in the end, for this other one you might do that and it dies because they weren't the same of what it needed. So let's get into the topic. So I'm going to start off with the smallest Bichir out there right now is called a dinosaur Bichir. They only get maybe, as you can see this thermometer here, only about this long, so I'm guessing that's 3 to 4 inches there. So they don't get super long and they don't get super big in their body size either. They generally stay, actually this thermometer is really good because that's generally the body size they keep. So if you have one of these, you already know what you're probably looking at there. Now, they're really great for a community tank with not super small fish like nanos, like nano tetras or something like that. More community-esque, like if you had barbs or cory cats and stuff like that. More community-esque like that. I would say they would be pretty good because they more than likely couldn't eat anything else. They don't get very big, and it's a very cool fish to have, in my opinion, because Bichers are prehistoric. They go back millions of years, and another really cool thing about them, I'm just going to get close up on mine. Maybe you can see some of the design on his back or his head. But another really cool thing about them is they can breathe air too. So as long as their bodies stay a little moist, they can actually come out of the tank and go around it. They'll use those two front paddles of theirs to walk, and they'll kind of go like this, kind of like flopping back and forth with their tail to move. Now, I'm not saying do that to keep them like that. Don't. They are a fish, though they still like to be in water, even though they can breathe air. People have done experiments in the past where they hatched one on land and hatched one in the water, and the one on land moved much better than the one coming out of the water. But still, though, don't do it. It was just an experiment they had, and also I don't think it's quite right to do that to your fish. But let's continue now. So mine is a polypterus. Now, a polypterus can get roughly 2 feet long, I would say. And they get a much bigger body size. So they get a lot bigger than your normal dinosaur or anything like that. However, though, for Bichers, they like a high protein diet. You don't have to have that for them. However, though, if you don't, they grow very slowly, and it'll probably take a couple years before they get anywhere near some size on them, in my opinion, just because I've had this guy for I want to say almost 6 months now, and he's maybe doubled to tripled in size. But that isn't that good, because actually maybe not even that. That just shows they need a much higher protein diet to grow so much bigger. Now, dinosaur Bichers and a polypterus will actually look a lot alike when they're little, just because they're both that brownish color, have that white belly underneath, and they'll just look the same because a polypterus doesn't get their design or anything like that as they get bigger. So that's where the protein thing comes in, where you want to give them a lot of protein in their diet to help them grow. Now, bichers, in my opinion, are a pretty good fish for your tank, just depending on what kind you get. If you get a dinosaur, you know, at the very least, keep them in a 20-gallon, just because then they'll have lots of room. But if you have a bigger community tank like this 75, or maybe even bigger than that, definitely throw him in there. He'll love it. And another thing about the dinosaur bichir, which is weird because it isn't with the other bichers, they are territorial. So if you throw two in to a tank and say it is a 20-gallon, they will not get along. They will try to kill each other, and it'll just be very bad. In a 75 like this, maybe you can get away with it if there's enough hiding spots, but otherwise you might even have to go a little bit bigger, or just very well planted, or very many a lot of hiding spots basically. Now, bichers are predators in the wild, so you know, keeping one that grows up to 2 feet in a community like this, or even one where you have like barbs, like torpedo barbs, or other fish only about that size, would not be good, because they could eat them, definitely. Like this Bichir, he can't, obviously he's way too small, but if he reached 2 feet, they do have teeth, so he would just start tearing different fish to shreds. But dinosaurs also have teeth, but they would need much smaller fish, like nano fish, some kind of nano fish, I would say. Otherwise, they would definitely be fine. Now, another good thing to know about them is the ones that reach 2 feet long can actually stay very well together in a group. It's weird. I understand that the dinosaur can't, but the big ones can. So let's say, you know, you had a 75 like this and they only gotten a foot so far. Well, you can have like 4 or 5 in here, all buddy-buddy, and no problems whatsoever. The only reason I'm guessing that's so cool with them is because they're all bigger now, or something like that. That is my best guess, in my opinion. But yeah, so the bigger ones would need a much bigger tank if you want to keep them forever, especially at their maximum size. I would definitely recommend a sand substrate, just because it would probably be easiest on them, because their bellies are always gliding over the bottom, and sand is just more comfortable than gravel, and so their fins don't get pinched or anything. But I would say for the very minimum of tank to keep these guys, I would say it would have to be a 125 like I have, or a 150. Now the reason being that big is just because they get 2 feet, and generally if you get one, you're going to get more. Trust me, they look so amazing, especially when they get bigger. You'll just want more. And if you keep other big fish with them, you want to make sure that there's enough room for everybody, and so there's no fighting. So you always want that extra space. Now, you might see a lot of these people sell them in pet stores, and you know, they might say, oh, you don't need that big of a tank. Well, you do. Especially if you're going to keep them forever, like with mine. I am planning on doing that. I am currently in the works of getting a bigger tank. Originally, I was going to hope to try and get a 600, but they are very expensive, especially when you have to buy all the plumbing equipment too. I just simply can't afford that big of a tank right now, so I'm setting my sights a little lower on like a 200 to 300 gallon, which you can always find those every once in a while pop up real cheap on Craigslist or on Facebook, something like that, for $200-300, maybe at the very most like 800, just because it's used, and they just want to get rid of it. But so yeah, that's one of my plans in the future, and once that happens, all the big fish will get moved to that tank, and the 125 will become not a mini monster grow out, because that's the 55. That's what that'll be doing. More like an intermediate section, not too, they can't go into the mini one because they are too big, but they can't go into the monster one because they are too small. So the 125 will be a good intermediate one. Some fish might stay there permanently. Like if I get that set up where I can put intermediate fish in there, Leporinas will be going in there. The silver dollars will be, but they won't stay in there. They get, depending on the kind you have, up to about a foot. The ballast sharks definitely won't stay in there. They can reach 3 feet. Severums, they might. Different stuff like that. And once that all gets set up, this 75, I will make a true community tank. Now, right now, I consider it is. However, though, I don't consider it a true community because we have fish that are known to be aggressive and get very big, like the Leporinas, the Severum, the silver dollar, stuff like that. So when I get all that set up, I'll make this into a true community. I'll put on a new light to make sure I can grow plants. I'll make the substrate a little bit more thicker so I can plant them in. There'll be a lot smaller fish. The design might change a little bit. Stuff like that. That won't happen till far into the future. That's going to definitely be a while. So that's just, talk for the future. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button. I will see you later.